quiz. Name a ray.
LB.
How many letters to name a ray?
Two.
2 letters. So give me 2 letters.
LR.
I heard LB. Is that going to work?
No.
Yeah.
What do you need?
The red
A
circle.
line.
So make sure you use the symbol. Name 2 opposite rays.
LB and A.
So ray LB goes from here out that direction.
And LA.
And ray LA, will that work?
I did it.
What else would have worked for that second one?
Then you-
LZ
Z.
goes out this way. How about ray LR, would that work?
No.
Why not?
Because it doesn't make a line.
Alright, they're not opposite rays. Name an angle 3 different ways. Pick me an angle.
LBR.
On the paper, it didn't print the numbers, by the way.
Wait. BLR.
Oh, the paper didn't have the numbers on it?
Yeah, there was no number.
I have to tell everybody. Do you guys need your quizzes back to put the numbers on there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's wait till we finish and then you can give it back to
No.
us.
Yeah.
I'm thinking we're gonna cheat if I give it back to you.
Whoa.
Us?
No,
Never.
we're just gonna use our
Yeah.
our resources.
Yeah, we're just using resources.
Honestly, I think I forgot my name.
Yeah.
Oh no, I totally.
I'm saying.
Oh well, I'll know for your class. So name an angle. Pick, what's the easiest way to name an angle in this picture?
L.
L.
Angle 1. So let's pick angle 1. Make sure you're using your symbol, the number. Now you gotta be careful. When you name the angle with 3 letters, what do you have to remember when you're naming with 3 letters?
Vertex.
What's the vertex of angle 1 here?
L.
So that has to be the middle letter. So angle what?
ZLR.
Is that angle 1?
B-
Oh no, BLR.
VLR. And what's another way to name that same angle?
Angle L.
Can you name it just angle L?
Yeah. No.
Why not?
Oh, cause,
There's 2 angles that have that same vertex, so we don't know. So how else could you name it?
RLZ.
R, just this
Oh,
backwards. RLB. Does everybody understand that? Because if you don't understand that, you're gonna be lost the whole year as we're doing angles. Gotta be able to name them. Can't name this angle L because you don't know which angle you're dealing with. Let's do angle 2 just to see if everybody understands it. What's another way to name angle 2? RLZ, I heard. Will that work? What's another way?
RLA.
RLA will work. That one, there's actually more ways. What's another way?
ALR.
ALR, ZLR. Name a linear pair. What's it mean to be a linear pair again? 2 angles that together what? They make a,
Line.
they make 180, they make a line. Give me 2 angles that together make a line.
1 and 2.
BL.
BLA.
BLA, is that 2 angles? That's 1 angle, right? That is the straight angle. We want the 2 angles that together make that straight angle. That's what a linear pair is.
BLR
BLR, so angle BLR.
and RL.
So if I trace that angle, it's right here. Does everybody see that angle?
Yeah.
What other angle goes with that one to make a linear pair?
RLA.
RLA. Does everybody agree with that? Those 2 together make a line? What would have been an easier way to name that?
1 and 2.
Angle 1, angle 2. Ethan, you probably took that easy way out, right? No? You named it with the 3 letters.
I didn't the numbers.
Take the easy way out if you can. Oh, that's right, I forgot the numbers weren't on there, were they? Yeah, if you look up here.
There's something blue.
Open up your books to page 71, page 71. Everybody, get your books out, open it up. Good idea, Branson. Get your calculator out too, maybe.
Yeah.
Looking at problem 10, on problem 10, read the directions there. I think they tell us that, they tell us a couple of bisectors, don't they? Don't they tell us that ray BE bisects angle ABF or something? Is that in the directions? Yes, no, maybe? None of you can read it.
BH bisects angle EBC.
Alright, so EBC, you gotta be able to use your imagination here. See that? And this ray bisects it. So we're sort of getting rid of this, that ray right there. Just imagine it's not there. What do we know about this angle and this angle? If this is bisecting it,
They're equal.
they're equal. So this whole thing has to equal that whole thing. And I think the book's already got some marks in there, so we might want to put 2 arcs in there, because I think they already have 1 arc in something, don't they? What else do they tell us?
BA and BC are opposite rays.
Okay, so this and that are opposite rays. So what do we know about this whole thing? 180. After a while, they're not going to tell you that anymore, because that's one of the things that you should just know from looking at the picture. What else they tell us? Now I think they tell us the part that I thought they told you first.
Ray BE bisects angle ABS.
So everybody see this ray? And it bisects this angle. Know that I do this just because I enjoy doing this. When you're doing it on your homework, I'm being sarcastic here. When you're doing it on your homework, you should be tracing this stuff with your finger or something, your pencil, whatever. So this angle right here is getting bisected. If it's getting bisected, what's happening to it? Well, we need a definition quiz next class, don't we?
It's getting cut in half.
Cut in half. So what do I know about these 2 angles? They're congruent to each other. They're congruent to each other. Now, go down to number 10. What's it say on number 10?
FM angle B or ABF.
Alright, slow down right there. Make sure we went over this last time. What's that M mean? Everybody knows.
The degree of angle.
Midpoint.
Measure, so every time you see this, watch them closely, measure, this is how this is read, measure of angle ABF. Measure of angle ABF. ABF is that whole angle right there, right, from there to there. It's sort of hard to mark sometimes in your picture. Maybe you do something like that. What do they tell us about angle ABF?
Equals 8W minus 6 and M angle ABE.
So somebody tell me what this says.
Measure of angle ABE.
Measure of angle ABE. Measure of angle ABE. That's this angle. So we're gonna, they tell us something about that. What do they tell us about it?
Equals 2 parentheses W plus 11.
I don't wanna put the parentheses in there because I hate parentheses. So how could I write that without parentheses?
2W plus 11.
Be careful. Close.
2 parentheses.
2W. So if it said this, how do you get rid of the parentheses?
This
distribute.
What do you end up with?
2W plus 22.
There you go. So they tell us this angle is 2W plus 22. This whole thing is 8W minus 6. What equation can we set up?
Put those
2
two
minus
equal.
6 equals.
Can we just set this equal to that? Is that gonna work? No, because that's not the whole thing, is it? The whole thing is 8W minus 6. That part down there at the bottom is 2W plus 22.
So you gotta take half of the other one.
So you could take half of what?
8W minus 6.
So we could take half of this, because what do we know this ray was doing to this whole angle? It was bisecting it. So we could take half of it. What is half of 8W minus 6? 4W minus 3. You could do that. Sometimes that won't work out, because if it's an odd number, then it's going to give you a fraction or something, right? Or a decimal, I mean. And you might not want that. So the other way you could do it,
Times that by 2.
if this angle's 2W plus 22, what do you know about this angle?
Same.
It's got to be the same thing, so we could just write that in there. Now, all you're going to do with this, if you have it this way, is this angle and this angle together should equal what? That. So, and you could collect like terms if you want before you do things. That's up to you. I don't care. So tell me the equation I can write out here.
2W plus
22 equals 2W plus 20.
Be careful now.
Plus 2W plus 22.
Now, another thing you got to watch out for. Do I want to set these two equal to each other? They are equal to each other. But what happens if I do 2W plus 22 equals 2W plus 22?
0 is out.
You end up with 0 equals 0, which really doesn't help us any. All right? So we probably don't want that. So 2W plus 22, then what else?
2W
Plus
plus 22.
2W plus 22 equals what?
8W minus 6.
8W minus 6. Write that down on your paper there somewhere. Quit using your pencil for that. Actually do something. Find a scrap page or something. Let me probably do this one. Been slipping a bunch. It'll be your butt here pretty soon. Should make this a quiz grade too, shouldn't I? We're gonna do several of these problems, and if you're not working them right now, I think when I turn around and look and people aren't writing stuff down, that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna start making it a quiz grade. Once I have this equation here, I collected like terms, what do I do next? Subtract 4W. Those cancel out. What's left on the left-hand side?
41.
What's on the right-hand side?
4W minus 6.
Now what?
Plus 6.
50 equals 4W, then what?
Divided by 4.
12.5.
Is that our answer?
No.
Go back and read the book.
Gotta measure.
Number 10, what they ask us to find?
Measure.
Measure of what?
EBS.
EBF? Is that what it says?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where's angle EBF at?
Right there.
Right there next to EBA.
So EBF, that's this angle, right?
Yeah.
So what do I do?
Plug in 12.5 for W.
So 2 times 12.5 plus 22, grab your calculator and do that.
47.
47? Is that our answer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's this other angle? Angle ABE?
47.
47. How would we find the whole thing, angle ABF here?
Add 47.
Add 47 and 47. How could you find this angle? Measure of angle FBC. Watch, I'm sort of scribbling it, FBC. How could you find that angle?
Minus 147 minus 180.
Now, just 47?
No.
It's 47 and 47, right? You're subtracting off this whole thing right here. So it'd be 180 minus the 47s added together, right? And that would give us this whole thing. Now, you found that whole thing. Somebody do that for us real quick. 180 minus 47 minus another 47.
86.
86, is that what you got? How could we find each of those? How could we find just this angle? Any way possible?
Divided by 2.
Divide by 2. Now, here's where you gotta be careful. It's not actually gonna work out because this angle here is actually part of this other one. So when we divide it by 2, it's not gonna come out, but you got the right idea. Number 11. What do they tell us on number 11? Same setup, so let me do this first. This angle's the same as that angle, right? And then this angle is the same as that angle. So they tell us all that information back up in the directions. What else did they tell us?
The measure of angle EBC.
Alright, so EBC. Does everybody see angle EBC here?
Yeah.
So that goes from here all the way around to there. What is that one?
3R plus 10.
3R plus 10. Alright, what else?
And E is 2R plus minus 20.
So this one right here is 2R minus 20. That's this angle right here, right? ABE. What else they tell us?
That's it.
Right.
Verify.
So find the measure of angle EBF. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So that's what we're looking for. How are we gonna do that?
Well, is
So
it,
if you compare it to 2R minus 20 on the EBF to
So this here would also be what?
2R minus 20.
So that'd be 2R minus 20, that's true. Maybe that'll help us, I don't know, I'll write it in there and we'll see.
You can do
Well,
Gotta pick up on this, what we're gonna do today, you have to pick up on this right here. So, Mason, you watching?
Yeah.
What do we know about this whole angle right here?
180.
It's 180. They told us this angle, and then they told us this angle right here, right?
so those two added together equals 180?
Those two added together should equal
180.
180. This time, do we really need this other angle here?
No.
No, so let's get rid of that so it doesn't confuse us. So what are we gonna add together that should equal up to 180? Tell me what to write down.
EBC plus.
Yeah, tell me the numbers.
2R.
2R
Minus 20.
minus 20
Plus.
plus 3R plus 10 should equal what?
180.
180. Write that down on your paper there and solve it. You gotta be able to figure out, all year long, we're gonna be doing this. You gotta know, hey, sometimes I'm gonna set these two angles equal to each other. Sometimes I'm gonna add these two together to equal something else. Sometimes I'm gonna add these two together to equal up to 180. Sometimes I'm gonna add them together to equal up to 90. Just different things. All kinds of different equations all year long. You collect like terms, what do you get?
5R.
Equals 190.
Be careful. 5R, then what?
Minus 10.
Minus 10 equals 180. Kellen was a step ahead of us. I'm gonna have to start telling you guys that you can't really not, starting today, that's what we're gonna do. We're not gonna write in the books anymore as far as the homework goes. Cause you can't, there's no way you can do this in your book and actually do the workout. You need an extra sheet of paper somewhere, don't you? So that you can do the work on. You don't, Mr. Owens, you don't need the extra, you just do it in your head.
On the paper.
Cause your head's that fat, I mean, your brain's that big. Sorry. I said that sort of wrong, didn't I?
Brain small, head black. Ouch.
How do you solve that? Tell me what to do.
Plus 10.
Somebody be reading the question as we're doing this and figuring out what we were trying, oh, we already got it up here, don't we, what we were trying to find. So 5R equals what?
190.
Now what?
Divide by 5. 38.
38? Is that our answer?
No.
What'd they ask us to find?
Plug 38 in for R.
They asked us to find EVF, didn't they? So that's that angle. Well, what do we know about that angle?
It's equal to EVA.
So what we had down here, we do sort of need it, don't we? So what am I gonna put in place of R right there?
38.
So 2 times 38 minus 20. Do that on your calculator.
56.
56. Does everybody agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
56 degrees. Somebody read this to me.
Bit the wedge.
Measure of
it.
EB.
Angle
or,
EB.
yeah, angle EBF equals 56.
Number 12, or I'm sorry, number 15. Look at number 15 in your book. Does anybody remember what's special about those two angles? That
They're equal.
they're equal. What kind of angles are they?
Oh.
Vertical angles. Gotta know that vertical angles and vertical angles must be congruent to each other. So what equation can I set up?
Those two equal to each other.
2x I heard?
Minus 10 equals 120.
Solve that. I think on these they just asked you to find the x, didn't they? Is that what 15 says? Find the value of each variable.
65.
65.
65.
65.
Is that what we're going with? Does everybody agree with that? What's the measure of this angle then?
100.
It's just one, it's the same as that, right? And they didn't have to do anything. Now, the next problem is probably gonna do something like this. If this angle's 120, what's this angle right here?
60.
How much?
60 degrees.
60 degrees. How much is this one over here?
60.
Number 16, I told you to do something like that. What do we know about these two angles?
Different. Oh.
They equal 180.
They add up to 180, so tell me the equation I can write down.
2x. You got it. Which row?
4x plus 400 equals 180.
Write that on your paper and solve it. Again, you gotta look at the pictures and it's gonna be different each time. Spelled my name wrong.
I,
Huh?
what?
They spelled my name wrong.
When?
First block, over there on, next to you.
There's an E.
There's an E at the end, right?
Ebersole.
They were sitting here, they were supposed to be working on their homework,
I got you.
and they were,
Can I use this to write down the equations?
sure. Anybody get X?
Look at
12.
Everybody agree with that?
Yup.
Yes.
Look at you go, Kelly.
Next one, they want to solve for X and Y. What's an equation we can set up here?
2x plus 25. Y plus, no, I don't know. Sure.
That's an
Should we set up this equation? 2x plus 25 plus y, these two angles add up to how much?
180.
Equal 180. There's nothing wrong with that equation except for what?
There's two variables.
There's two variables. Can you solve that?
No.
So is that an equation you probably want to set up?
Mm-mm.
Probably not. Give me another equation that we could set up that's going to be easier.
2x plus 25.
3x minus 10.
Yeah.
Is that right?
I can get up to do this one.
Solve that.
X equals 35.
35? Is that what we're going with?
I got 35.
Now that's x. But we also got to find y.
Why?
How could we do that?
100.
Plug 35 into x.
So could we go back and use this equation?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could take out the x here and stick in what?
35.
And then solve for y in that. Might be easier just to plug it in here and do 2 times 35. What's 2 times 35?
70.
Plus 25.
95.
So how much is this angle right here?
95 degrees.
95 degrees. If that angle's 95 degrees, what do you know about this angle and this angle?
They added a 180.
They add up to 180. So what's the easiest way to find y probably?
95 minus 180.
Close.
81. 180 minus 95.
What's that give you?
85.
So what's y equal?
85.
85. How much is this angle right here?
85.
85 degrees.
Yeah.
How much is this angle down here?
95 degrees.
95 degrees, so on and so on.
Yeah.
How many equations we can set up on this one?
X, Y minus 102 equals 2y plus 6.
Say it again. Say it one more time.
8y minus 102 equals 2y plus 6.
So this angle equals this angle. How come those two angles are equal to each other?
They're vertical.
They're vertical angles. They have to be congruent. Write that down on your paper and solve it.
It's really loud.
The chalkboard?
You know, like whenever you drop the chalk in the thing, it's
Is that what you used in 2003?
Nah, they had.
like, before that.
It's like
Keller,
I just seen that thing, so I was just making.
back in 1950, whenever he started working.
This
No, I got you ready.
Mr. Ebersole, is that what you used in like 1950 whenever he
Are
started
you
working?
writing this down? Because it's going to be a quiz grade. Are you solving?
Yeah.
Are you asking for me to come back here and put my foot somewhere where it doesn't belong? That's what it sounds
It's
like.
the second time it's threatened like that in the last
No, it
3
happened on
days.
Saturday.
My nails are
Huh?
long,
It
dude.
happened on
Doesn't
Saturday.
it
Yeah.
hurt your nails?
I got threatened Saturday.
Nope, can't do it. Doesn't work, Terry. I'm sorry, that's a trail.
So maybe you ought to get a hint here.
Dude,
Anybody get y?
18.
18.
18, everybody agree with that? Are we done?
No.
I gotta solve this real quick.
What do you get? What do you have to do?
Plug Y in.
Plug y in where? You probably wanna plug y in here.
No, that's,
Those are pretty hard numbers,
Those are
aren't they?
difficult.
So I'd probably do this one.
Wait. 42.
42.
42.
So this angle's 42 degrees. Well, how's that gonna help us?
The other one has to equal
180.
These two should add up to be how much?
180.
So what equation can I set up?
3x plus 42
Equals,
180.
set up that equation and solve it.
So I'm confused. Why can't you just do 180 minus 42?
Because we're not looking, well, you could sorta, what is 180 minus 42?
138.
So does that mean our other angle, or our x is 138?
No.
Oh, do you hit to divide it by 2?
Divided by
3.
Oh, 3.
46.
46?
That's literally the same thing as what we just did.
Exactly.
Oh.
So here, look Branson, if you're actually working it out on your paper like you're supposed to be, instead
That's
of
no
just back there
question.
annoying me, I know, but what's the first thing you gotta do to solve this?
Subtract 42.
Subtract 42, that's what you just told me, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then you'd have to divide by
Oh.
3 to figure out what x is, because they didn't ask you what the whole angle was here, they asked you what x was.
Ah.
Next one, 35. What equation could I set up here?
Okay, in the book that looks like they were right angles. Really.
Yeah,
I know you can't assume that, but it looked like it was right angles.
I put right angle corners.
No, they're not. 'Cause
Oh, wait, no,
they
they're
don't
not.
have the little boxes.
Yeah.
I know they're not right angles. They just like
It
look
looked like it.
They should be right angles.
Oh, never mind. Yeah,
If your James is right.
But now that I see it, it looks a little crooked, but
yeah.
Tell me the
at first it
equation.
looked-
it
Yeah.
looked like a right angle.
Let's go, tell me the equation we can set up.
2y
If your
plus
microphone's on.
50.
What?
2y plus 50
2y plus 50?
plus 7x.
Plus 5y minus 17.
Which one is it?
They should be,
The other one with the y.
The other one with the y?
Yeah.
What do we know about these two?
They add up to 180.
They add up to 180. Please watch closely on this, because I guarantee you when we take a test over this stuff, a whole bunch of you are gonna go, this angle plus this angle equals 180, which is true, but can you solve it?
No.
So what do we want to do with this one?
This is simple.
Add it to
Plus 5.
That one.
that one. So plus 5y minus 17 equals what?
180.
180. Write that down on your paper and solve it.
This isn't even that bad. It's just simple.
You just gotta, that's why we're going over it, because it's just the idea of practicing it over and over again.
Is that a minus or a plus by the 50 and y?
Plus. What's an equation we could set up to help us solve for x?
7x minus 248 plus x plus 44 equals 180.
How come we didn't just set these two equal to each other?
We could have. Oh, we can't.
What kind of angles are they?
Adjacent.
They're adjacent, that's true. What else? They are a linear
Is it
pair. Together they make a
line?
line. This angle and this angle together make a line. Now they're not congruent to each other, but those two angles together make a line. Anybody get what y was?
21.
21. Anybody get what x was? Not yet. That's why you use your pencil and write down, Branson. We had this discussion a couple minutes ago.
How you got?
Bless you.
Yes, all
Bless
Thank
you.
you.
No. Unless you guys just rounded it up.
What's 2y plus 5y, Branson? Why they're solving for x?
7y.
7y. Then we got 50 and a negative 17. What's 50 and negative 17 give you?
Oh, that's 17.
Yeah.
Oh.
48 is x.
What do you think it was?
12.
What? You weren't.
Uh, was that? Go
Hang
ahead.
on, I'll try and do it with that.
Anybody get what X is?
48.
48? Does everybody agree with those two answers? Hannah, did this do any good for me to set up here and do these problems? Or do you think Riley just let it go in one ear and out the other?
Probably.
Yeah, I thought the 12 messed me
It
up.
helps me. I keep getting negatives. I can.
For which
Well,
one?
you're doing it wrong.
Be nice. This one? This one? So 7x and x give us what?
8x.
8x. A negative 248 and a positive 44 give you what?
Negative 2.
And that should still equal 180, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now what do we do?
Add 2 of them to 180. 383.
And divide by 8.
And divide by 8.
I got it.
Got it?
Yep. I don't know what I was doing.
21. Sweet.
Grab the notes up there if you haven't already.
Bless you. Bless you.
God bless my brother.
Bless you. Don't sneeze.
Angle relationships. We're going to talk more about special pairs of angles. So this is even going to make it worse because we have vertical angles. What do you know about vertical angles?
They're the same.
They're the same. All right. So you set those equal to each other when you're doing all this stuff. What do you know about linear pairs?
They make a line.
They make a line, so they add up to
180 degrees.
180 degrees.
It's gotta be the biggest word.
Then, what we're going to deal with, complementary and supplementary angles. Complementary and supplementary angles. I never have, in all my years of teaching, never have come up with a good way to help students remember what each one is and how to keep them separate. All right? My way is just to remember what they are. So if you come up with a neat little way to help everybody remember the difference between complementary and supplementary, let us all know. The way I remember it is I just remember in the alphabet, C comes before S. And your numbers, 90 comes before 180. If that helps you, then use that. Otherwise, come up with something.
Why do they call it supplementary?
So complementary angles. Complementary angles are two angles whose measures have a sum of 90 degrees. So two angles that together add up to 90 degrees. A lot of times complementary angles, you'll see something like this. And maybe it's got that little box there. What's that little box tell us about that angle?
Right angle.
So then we have this, maybe we have another ray in here, and this is angle 1, that's angle 2. Angle 1 and angle 2 have to add up to be how much?
90.
90. So angle 1 and angle 2 are complementary angles. Two angles that add up to 90 degrees. Alright? Do they have to look like that? If I gave you this angle and told you it was 30 degrees, and I gave you this angle and told you it was 60 degrees, what kind of angles are those two angles to each other? Because they add up to 90. Now, do they together make a right angle? No, they're separate angles, but they still add up to 90. And that's what complementary means.
Oh.
Supplementary angles. Supplementary angles, instead of adding up to 90 like complementary angles, supplementary angles add up to 180. So any two angles that add up to 180. We've already dealt with some supplementary angles. I have this picture. This is angle 3, this is angle 4. What can you tell me about angle 3 and angle 4?
They're supplementary.
They're supplementary. They add up to 180 because they add up to that straight angle. Alright? Now, do they always have to look this way? Do they always have to be adjacent to each other? No, you could have an angle that looks like this. If I tell you this angle is 120, and then this angle is 60, what do those two angles add up to equal? 180. So what kind of angles are they to each other?
Supplementary.
Supplementary.
Oh, oh,
What was another name for this angles? We talked about it last time.
Acute
They're acute and obtuse, that's true.
vertical.
Are they vertical?
adjacent.
They're a linear pair. So listen this closely. A linear pair is supplementary, but what goes in here? If you have a linear pair,
In fact.
these two angles are always going to add up to what?
180.
180. So they're always supplementary. So if you have a linear pair, the angles are going to be supplementary every single time. Supplementary angles. Do two supplementary angles have to be a linear pair?
No.
No, they could look like this. So sometimes.
Oh.
My hands really
So do I.
Next one, find the complement of angle A. Somebody read this right here to me.
Measure angle A.
Is equal to 54.
Measure of angle A is 54 degrees. How are you going to find its complement? What do you know about complement?
It equals 90.
They add up to 90. So how are you going to find it if your angle A is 54?
90 minus 54.
It's that easy to find the complement of something. Michael.
Is it 36?
36.
What is it?
36.
36. 36 degrees. Supplement. How would you find the supplement of angle A if it's 54? So do 180 minus 54.
26.
126. Everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
So if you're just trying to find the complement or the supplement of an angle, it's that easy. You just subtract from 90 or subtract from 180. Yeah.
What if they don't give you the measure of, like,
Then you wouldn't be able to directly find it, but like on those problems we were just doing, if they give you something like 5x plus 2 is one of the angles and the other one's 3x minus 4 or something, then you're gonna add them together, and if they're complementary, you say this angle plus this angle equals 90 and, or 180 if they were supplementary. On your paper there should be these problems. Two angle problems. I like these kind of problems and we're going to use them throughout the year. So you might want to make sure that you're writing this down carefully. I call them two angle problems. The book doesn't call them that. There's nothing really special about them. But we're going to do a whole lot of problems like this throughout the year. And there's just a certain way that I do them that I think is the easiest way to do them. This one says, find the measures of two complementary angles if the measure of the larger angle is 5 more than 4 times the measure of the smaller angle. I call them two angle problems because the way I start them off, every single time when you're starting this, first thing you should do, write down angle 1, angle 2. When you see a problem like this on the next test, if you do these steps, you'll get points for every one of the steps. What'd they tell us about angle 1?
It's
larger, or,
Five
mo-
more.
five more
Larger
and
and
then
five
one
more than
times.
four.
Now, do we know which one's angle 1 and angle 2? So for angle 1, the very first thing I would do, did they tell us anything about it?
No.
In algebra, what did you do if you didn't know something?
X.
So make it x. So that's what I would do. Very first thing, I would make angle 1 just x. Now, angle 2, they explained something to us, right? They gave us some words there. Now, what's it say about angle 2?
it's 5 more than 4 times.
5 more than 4 times the other angle, right? What's 5 tell us to write down?
Plus 5.
All right, more than means plus. Kellen's ahead of us. 4 times the other angle. Well, what did we say the other angle was?
X,
So what am I gonna write here? It's 4 times that.
4
4 times,
times X.
it's just 4x, right?
Yeah.
Is that confusing? Should we start that over again? So 5 tells you what?
It's 5.
5.
I was like 5.
More than tells you what? Plus 4 times the other angle, what's that telling you?
4x.
4x. So what am I gonna put down here?
5 plus 4x.
You could write it that way, or what else could you do? Kellen did this when he was trying to write it a
4x plus
second ago.
5.
He put 4x plus 5. Does it matter which order they go in?
No.
Not really. I'm gonna put 4x plus 5. Again, on a test, you get that set up, that's a point. Now, we're just gonna stop there?
No.
We're gonna set up an equation, right? What do we know about these two angles?
They're equal to 180.
Be careful.
Or 90.
They're add up to equal 90, so what am I gonna set up over here? What plus what equals 90?
4x
Plus
plus 5.
Plus x.
X plus
4x plus 5.
4x plus 5 equals
90.
90, if it was switching on me.
Jeez.
Equals 90. Oops, I forgot my 5 in there, because it's on the other slide. Solve that, write that down on your paper there and solve it.
17.
Is that what we're going with?
Yeah.
17.
17.
So 85 divided by 5 is 17?
Yep.
Is that our answer?
No.
What's our answer? Go back and read the problem, what they ask you to find.
Find the measures of 2 complementary angles.
So find the measure of the two angles, right?
Yeah.
17 degrees,
So wait.
90
So one of them is how much?
17.
17 degrees, that's true, that's one of our answers. How are we gonna find the other one?
minus
90 minus, we could plug in here, or Michael's saying instead of plugging in here, we could just do what?
90 minus 17.
90 minus 17. What's that give you?
73.
If we plugged in there, grab your calculator, what's 4 times 17 plus 5?
4 times 6.
90.
73 degrees.
Oh,
You get the same answer either way, right?
Yeah.
Next one. Take a minute, set up this next one. Try to set it up there. Hopefully you're writing in pencil, because in case you have to erase it. Just try to do the same thing that we just did there. It's a good start, Elizabeth. You must have been listening. Proud of you. Confused about,
How do I set up the second angle?
right? Same thing. Same thing as we just did up there, just try. Looks
ties do you have in your closet?
What's your question, Caitlin?
Does it matter which angle, like angle 1 or angle 2 was the equation?
Well, we use it both for the equation, but
Bags of ping pongs we have in
what do we write down first?
Angle 1 and angle 2.
Angle 1, angle 2. What are you gonna let angle 1 be?
there. X.
Where are we gonna get angle 2 from?
10
This
is
is minus
9
9
times the measure of the smaller.
Alright, so 10 less than 9 times. What's the 10 tell us to write down? 10. What's less than tell you?
Minus.
Subtract. Now, not only does it tell you subtract, but what else?
9 times.
Tells you that you're gonna do what with them?
Oh, distribute.
You got to think of it this way. No. Think of it this way. Anytime you see less than,
10.
write this down somewhere on your paper there. Less than tells you to subtract, but it also tells you something else. Less than, if I say 2 less than 7,
7 minus 2.
what did you do?
You subtracted from the.
What did you do with the 2 numbers?
Flip them.
You flipped them, you switched them. So you got to subtract and switch the order. You gotta switch the order before you subtract. So where's this 10 gonna come when I'm setting it up in my problem down here? It's gonna come at the end, right? So 10 less than 9 times the measure of the other. Well, what was the measure of the other?
X.
X.
So 9x
Minus 10.
There you go, write that down. Make sure when you're doing less than,
I put 10 minus 9x.
that's what we're saying right now. When you're doing less than, somebody help Branson out because he wasn't listening here a second ago. What do you have to do with the 2 things? You gotta switch them around.
Okay.
What do we know about these 2 angles?
They add up to 180. Or no, 90.
They add up to 90.
Yeah.
So what equation can I set up?
X plus 9x minus 10.
X plus 9x
Minus
minus 10, is that it?
Equals 180.
Equals
90.
90. Write that down on your paper there and solve it. Again, on the test, you get this part, point, you get the equation, another point, you solve for x, another point, get the angles, 2 more points.
X equals 10.
X equals 10, everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Is that our answer?
No.
No.
80.
That's part of it, right?
90 minus.
So what's our first answer? What's the first angle?
10 degrees.
10 degrees
80 degrees.
and 80 degrees. How'd you get the 80 degrees?
90 minus
90.
Subtracted 90 minus that, or you could have plugged it in here to get the other one. Too difficult?
No.
You just gotta, if you do the process, which I see a whole bunch of you, Mr. Owens, who refuse to write stuff down that wanna try to get it in your head, and that's great, until you can't do it at all because you don't know how to do the process. Alright? Listen,
How do you get 80 again?
just, because we knew that they were complementary angles. So if this first angle
So it has to be 12 and 90.
was 10 degrees, so they have to equal up to 90, so we just did 90 minus 80. We could have also plugged in, when we got x is 10, 9 times 10 minus 10 to get the second angle. Should give you the same thing. Fill in what you need to fill in on this.
What does that say on the second bullet? Does that say I?
It's an upside down T, the symbol that we're going to use.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I should probably get rid of the bullets. Makes it look like that's part of it or something.
was underlined, so that's why.
Alright, so perpendicular means lines or segments are raised that intersect to form right angles. This is the symbol for perpendicular. It's that upside down T. So somebody read this to me.
Line TA.
Line TA, good.
It's perpendicular to line NL.
Very good. So line TA is perpendicular to line NL. That means they come together and they cross and they form what?
Writing.
Right angles. Alright? So if I'm writing it this way, I do this. I use that symbol in a sort of a sentence here. If I'm in a picture, what do I use to show that they're perpendicular?
Writing.
The little box. So forms, how many right angles are in that picture?
2, 4.
Forms 4
Oh,
right angles.
Oh,
What do I know about this angle?
look at that.
It's a right angle, right? What do I know about this angle? It's a right angle. What do I know about this angle? It's a right angle. And pairs of blank. What other kinds of angles do we have here? What are these two angles together?
Complementary.
Other one.
Yeah, both. Supplementary.
Supplementary.
Is it
They're
adjunct?
supplementary angles, or what's another? Or a linear pair. So pairs of supplementary angles or linear pairs you could use. Now, do they also, somebody said vertical angles. Are there also vertical angles in this picture?
Yeah.
Yeah, these two angles right here are what?
Vertical.
Vertical. Now, not only are they vertical, but we also know that they're congruent to each other. So if one of them's 90, what's the other one have to be?
90.
Not only are these angles supplementary angles, but they are also what to each other?
Adjacent.
That's true, they're adjacent.
Perpendicular, or what?
What do we know? If this one's 90 and this one's 90,
Equal.
then they're equal. What's in geometry?
Congruent.
Congruent. So right, and congruent. They're supplementary and congruent angles. And actually, there's a theorem that says when lines are perpendicular, pairs of congruent and congruent supplementary angles are formed. Which one's that?
I mean, obviously. I mean, it's
That?
15 or 1 5?
What?
I'm confused what that says.
It's a.
angles.
It's a.
Oh. I had bad eyesight.
That's all right. So watch. Angle. And then I just put apostrophe S. So I don't have to write out the word angles. So Branson, to help you out, should I write out the word angles? Would that be better?
I'm fine now. I thought it was 15 for that bad eyesight, or 1 5 for some reason. Can't see.
Get some glasses.
I do.
Wow.
I guess I had that on there already. Oh, well. Find this on your paper. Can't hardly see it. Did you guys see? Well, you can see it on your paper, so that's good enough.
Why did I look at that?
Line AD and line EC are perpendicular to each other. So line AD is right here. Does everybody see line AD? And line EC is right here. So what do I know about this angle down here?
90 degrees.
90 degrees. What do I know about this angle right here?
90
90.
degrees.
What do I know about this angle?
90.
About this angle? 90. So is there any equation I could set up? So first, let's go back. Tangrams. Anybody know what tangrams are?
What is the tank?
Aren't those things that like you make?
Those
that
are
look like
you
shapes?
probably got some of the shapes in your little bag are probably from
Like a
those.
D.
there's a set of like 7 of them. Usually there's 7 little shapes, and you just make different things out of them. Alright, and this is one of them where they made something, looks like a swan or something out of it.
It's kinda like,
Oh, I love them.
What can I do here? What equation can I set up?
You do
Look at your paper.
read that one thing.
origami.
The, which one?
Is it a 7x?
Okay, 7x plus 10.
Yeah, that plus 8x plus 5 equals 3y plus 15.
So 7x plus 10, ignore that, plus 8x plus 5.
Equals 90.
Now, that angle actually equals this angle, because what kind of angles are those two to each other? There, this whole thing and this whole thing, what kind of angles? Vertical angles, so they have to be congruent. The bad thing is, if I put that 3y plus 15 over here,
There's 2 variables.
there's gonna be 2 variables. Do we want 2 variables?
No.
We'd rather not have them. You remember last year in algebra when you had 2 variables, got difficult, didn't it?
Yeah.
Systems of equations, anybody remember doing that? And you probably didn't like them very much?
Oh, yeah.
Probably liked them almost as much as,
Joe Biden.
school lunch. When you had to do the parentheses and the factoring. Anybody remember factoring?
I didn't mind.
Oh, I'm
Didn't like
so bad at
factoring?
that. I am so bad at
So-
We got it with Mr. Harrison.
So
Yeah, that's true. Mr. Harrison's.
it's probably not something that we wanted to have, but what do I know about these two together?
Harrison.
What'd you guys just tell me about all these angles?
They're all 90 degrees.
90 degrees, so this plus this should equal what?
This, or,
Should equal what?
90.
90.
Yeah.
So write that down on your paper and solve it. Don't think you're gonna be able to do it, Mr. Owens.
X equals 5.
Keep going, Michael, don't just trust them. What's wrong with you?
I thought it says saying.
You'll make me call the house every night, aren't you? Hey, he's got an assignment tonight.
Huh?
You want me to start doing that? Done it for students in the past.
I do not know.
Okay, so I have a question for you. Where do you guys, do you guys?
Is it about this? Then no, I don't want to hear it. Focus on what you should be doing.
I have it.
What anybody end up with?
X
Can
equals
I-
5.
Does everybody agree with 5?
Could you remove it?
Yes, no, maybe? So x equals 5,
And Y.
says find the values of x and y. So we found x, that's half our answer.
You can
How are we
set,
gonna find y?
set equal to 90.
So what equals 90?
3x plus 3y, sorry, plus 15.
So you also told me that this angle right here had to be how much?
90.
90. So that equals 90. Write that down on your paper. Solve it.
But that don't look like 90 degrees.
Don't go by looks.
Yeah,
We'll
for
talk
real.
about that here in a minute.
I mean, I may look 90 degrees, but.
You guys,
Yeah, he made a little
98.
strictly.
you guys, right? You guys told me a little while ago that the one in the book looked 90, and then after about 30 seconds, you said, oh no, I guess it's not.
It was crooked. What you mean by that?
Kellen,
25.
you asked me for a favor the other day, and you just blew it, man. Anybody get it?
25.
25, ignore that going up through there. Y equals 25, anybody else get that?
Yeah.
Did they ask us to do anything else?
Find the values of x and y such that AD and EC and the tangent are perpendicular.
So is there anything else we gotta do? No, that's all they wanted this time was what X and Y were. Look at this one. What equation can we set up? What do we know if they tell us QS and line PR are perpendicular? So if this is perpendicular to that, what's that tell us?
They're 90 degrees.
So that's a right angle right there. That's a right angle on that side. So what equation can I set up?
4y minus 2 equals 180.
4y minus 2 equals what?
Equals 90.
Equals 90.
180.
Wait, I don't think that's right.
That's not right?
That'd be
180.
the supplement.
Does it equal 180?
2x.
No, equals 90, but there's another thing. So 45.
So do we set up this plus these two add up to 180? Do we want to set up that equation?
You can.
You could, but what's that going to have in it?
Well, if they're both equal.
X's and Y's, right? Now, Luke's saying they're both equal, so could we say this equals these two added together?
Yeah.
Yeah, we could, but what's that going to have in it
Two
again?
variables.
It's going to have X's and Y's. We don't want them.
Just set them
Both of
to
them.
equal.
Is that an alright equation?
Yeah.
For now.
Yeah. So is that something you can solve? Yeah, write it down and solve it. You guys trying to make this harder than it has to be. What did anybody get?
22.
22.
22, 23, which one is it?
23. 92 divided by 4.
I got 22.
92 divided by 4.
No, 90 minus.
88
You have to
divided
add 2 to
90
90.
minus
Because you
90
take away the
divided by
negative.
Oh wait, I was just doing the regular.
23.
So add 2 to both sides. You get 4y equals 92, then what?
23.
Divide by 4.
Divide by 4, what's y equal?
Or 23.
Oh my god.
So that's one of our answers. How are we gonna find x?
5x plus 6 plus 2x equals 90.
Set those
So
two.
these two added together because together they add up to 90. What kind of angles add up to 90?
Complement.
Complementary. So those two are complementary. So 5x plus 6. Does 5x plus 6 equal 90?
No. Plus
Plus
2x.
that equals 90. Solve that.
X equals 12.
Everybody agree with x equals 12?
Yeah.
Is that all they asked us to find was x and y?
Yeah.
What should be true about all three of those angles together? They should all add up to 180. Now be careful. Does that mean they're supplementary?
No.
No. Two angles are supplementary, not 3, not 4, not 5. So it's always two angles add up to 180 or two angles add up to 90. Can't be more than that to be supplementary or complementary. Last thing real quick. Find this on your paper and copy this. Things you can assume, things you cannot assume. We only got a couple minutes, so copy quickly. When you're looking at a picture, you can assume that things are coplanar, right? So they're not going to do this to you. They're not going to give you this piece of paper and say, have a point right here and say, oh no, the point was just above the plane. It wasn't really on it. They're not going to do that. If it looks like it's on the plane, then it's on the plane. If things are collinear, then we can assume that. Something looks like it's between, if Ethan looks like he's between Michael and Luke, we can assume that. Straight angles, we talked about that. You can assume if something looks like a straight angle, then it is. Things you cannot assume. Main one, you cannot assume that things are right angles. And just because segments or angles look like they're the same doesn't mean that they are the same. The assignment's there on the notes. Make sure you do it. What is it, page 80 or something?
81.
81? Page 81. Make sure you do it.
Man, I have like 5 little one braces.
Ready to do our skit today?
If he shows up.
On this, things you can assume. Things that you can assume. This angle right here, angle BAR, you can assume that that's a straight angle. Things you cannot assume. You cannot assume that angle BAZ is a right angle. So make sure you don't make that assumption. You can assume that this angle and this angle together add up to a total of 180 degrees, and so on all the way around through there. So you can assume the straight angle stuff, the linear pairs, but you cannot assume that anything is a right angle. So make sure you don't do that. So angle BAL here, whether it's a right angle or not, we have no idea. But we do know that it, along with this angle over here, add up to 180. Just tell them whether these are true or false. Segment CE and segment CF are opposite rays. So I go in here, or I'm sorry, not segment, ray CE. Ray CE is that ray. Ray CF is this ray. Are they opposite rays? So that would be true. Angle BGC. That's this angle right here. My picture's going to probably look pretty ugly by the time we get down through here. And angle KGC. That's this angle. Are a linear pair, so they add up to 180. And yes, we can assume that that is true. That those two together are going to add up to 180. Angle ABJ. ABJ, that's this angle. And let's go this route. Angle CBG. CBG, that's this angle. Are vertical angles. Are vertical angles. Is that something that we can assume? And if they are vertical angles, then we know that they have to be congruent. Yes, we can assume that. So that has to be true. Next one. Angle BCG. Angle BCG. Is this angle down here, BCG. And angle DCF. DCF, that's this angle, are congruent to each other. You got to be careful with this. These two angles are not vertical angles. This angle would actually be a vertical angle to that angle. So do we know for sure that these are congruent to each other? No, we can't decide that, or we can't assume that. So that's false. Next. Segment BE and line IF are perpendicular. Let's do this, pointer options. Let's erase all this stuff. Segment BE and line IF are perpendicular. So can we assume that these two are right angles? We cannot assume that, so that is false. Next. EBC, angle EBC and angle GBC. EBC is this angle right here. And angle GBC, that's this angle. So that angle right there, are complementary angles. They would be complementary angles if we knew that this angle was a right angle, but we don't know that, and we can't assume that. So that's going to be false. Angle ICH, that's this angle right here. And angle HCD, that's this angle, are adjacent angles. Are they neighbors to each other? Do they share a side and a common vertex? and that's true because they are adjacent. Doesn't tell us anything else about them, but we do know that they are neighbors with each other. The last thing, ray BC, let's erase all this. Ray BC starts here and goes out that direction. Bisects angle ECG. Bisects this angle, ECG. So we're saying these two angles would have to be congruent. It looks like they might be, but that's not something that we can assume. So we don't know if it bisects it or not. So we can't assume that. So that would have to be false. That's the assignment.